Hi, I'm Debbie Travis.
And I'm Tommy Smythe.
And this is Trust Me, I'm a Decorator. Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Debbie.
How's everything?
I've missed you. It's only been like a week.
You've only been gone a week.
I'm super excited about today's special guest interview because I think we've all had the experience where you meet a friend's, titled BFF, and you think to yourself one of two things. Either, you know what, not for me, or I am stealing this person and making them my BFF. So your friend, Jacky Brown, is that person for me.
Well, you've just left her because you've met her and spent quite a bit of time with her in Tuscany with me when we were doing some retreats. And that was, the last one was not that long ago, over a week ago. So Jacky and I met decades, and when I say decades, I mean decades ago, in a bar in Tokyo. We were there, I know it's hard to believe, but we were there modeling, and we hit it off straight away. We became best friends. I was chief bridesmaid at her wedding, which was probably the most awesome wedding I've ever been to, with people like George Michael there. It was really cool. Now, Jacky and I started running the retreats together in 2009 because I had the idea. I flew to London where she lives and I said, "Oh, I'm so tired of doing television shows. Would you like to do retreats with me?" And she says, "I'm so tired of my job." She was working for a building company. Yes, I would. And that was it. We rented a property, cleaned it up. We scrubbed the place and started the retreats. And she's been doing them with me ever since, never missed one. And over those years, she became fascinated by health and nutrition. So she went back to school. And the interesting thing was, she was one of the oldest in the class, an amazing school in the middle of London. And she was one of the few to graduate. And I'm very proud of her.
Talk about next chapters.
Yeah, exactly. But what is so great about what she does is she's not selling anything. She's not promoting a book of a particular type of diet. And she really sorts out that noise, the nutritional noise that's in the newspaper every single day. We should do this. We should do this. This is bad for you. No, it's not bad for you. And the women at the retreats love her.
And one man in particular.
And one man.
Over here. Right over here.
And so when we did the book, Joy, which is life lessons from a Tuscan villa, so people can bring this back, Jacky became the science behind it. So basically, I don't have any qualifications to tell people why a particular food is good for you or not good for you, but she does. So she's in these kind of turquoise boxes of Jacky Says. So I'll ramble on about, I don't know, zucchini, and then she'll tell you what's in zucchini. If you can make me understand, then we can really make sense of it and help the readers to understand a very, very complicated thing that affects us every day. So let's welcome my good friend, Jacky Brown.
Hi, Debbie. Hi, and hi, Tommy.
Hi, Jacky.
Long time no see. Long time no see.
I know. I've missed you.
Yeah, missed you so much.
So, Jacky, we're going to jump right into this because we started many years ago at our retreats in Italy, having a kind of a wellness evening, like an aperitivo, where people could ask questions. And of course, you've got lots of women, mostly in midlife, who, of course, nobody says anything for the first 5 minutes. And then suddenly all the hands, once one brave soul asks a question, everybody, and I can't even get them in for dinner because there are so many questions out there because we've been on every diet, every Monday morning. We start the same old thing. Shall I be vegan? Shall I be vegetarian?
We're going to start on Monday.
Yeah, always starting on Monday. So we began a wellness retreat once a year as well. And of course, the minute we put that up, it's kind of sold out. So we've put on our Instagram, our new Instagram, the Trust Me Pod, for anybody to record questions. So here's the first question. And this is a very common one, Jacky.
Hi, my name is Linda. My question is, what are some of the foods that may help you sleep better?
What can you do to aid sleep? And I want you to add in there because I have a question because I've got a puppy and I haven't slept for a week now. If you nap, if I'm frightened of taking a nap, he naps all day, of course. If you nap, does that kind of stop you falling asleep at night? But anyway, what tell us about sleep because we all need to know.
I think it can interfere with your nighttime sleep. especially if it goes over 20 minutes. They say to set your alarm for 20 minutes, but sometimes it takes you 20 minutes just to fall asleep. And then, it wakes you up as you're just dozing off to sleep. However, achieving good sleep is vital because it's when we replenish, our brains are cleaned out. We want really deep, optimal sleep. And to achieve that isn't easy, but I think it's a quest that everyone is on. I certainly am. And there are little tricks you can do. They call it sleep hygiene. So you need to have a list of things that really help you get to sleep.
Oh, that's good. Sleep hygiene. I haven't heard that.
They call it sleep hygiene. So it's kind of cleaning out and getting a really good list of things that help and support you get good sleep. Where do we start with this? It's kind of easier said than done. So I always sort of base it on me because I kind of like to research and try everything on myself before I tell other people to do it. I think the basis, obviously, of every, optimal health, wellness warrior is good nutrition. And with that, it helps give you the foundations for making. So magnesium is very important for sleep. So having a diet that's full of magnesium. So green leafy vegetables, very important. Tart cherries are an amazing food that are full of melatonin, natural melatonin, and that's your sleep trigger hormone.
Jacky, should you take cherries before you go to bed kind of thing? Or
I don't think it's so much as taking them just before you go to bed. Maybe sometime in the evening, you could have them earlier on in the evening. And it's not so much just having a bowl of cherries, like a bowl of cherries kind of thing, but it is incorporating them into your diet a few times a week. So you're topping up your levels all the time by foods that really are going to support your nervous system and your sleep hormones. So tryptophan, serotonin, all these things build. It's all like little bits of a puzzle that join together. So just going, is it just tart cherries that I need? It's not so much. You need that. Turkey is full of tryptophan, and that's an amino acid that helps with sleep. As I mentioned, magnesium. B6 is a very good vitamin that's needed. So it's a combination of vitamins and minerals. And that's all built by a diet that is, it's like eating the rainbow, eating variety, getting as many foods into your diet as possible, and not just sticking to the same few old things. So while tart cherries are super helpful, it's just part of that big jigsaw puzzle. I mean, they're great for all sorts of things, cherries, because they've got lots of lovely plant pigments in them and plant chemicals. So tart cherries are really useful to add to your diet if you can get them. You got a question, Tommy?
So, Jacky, getting back to where and how we get this into our bodies, are you an advocate for, smoothie making? I mean, if you're already making a smoothie, you could probably throw some frozen organic cherries into that smoothie to get that nutrient and that thing into your daily diet. Is that a good way to do it?
I think in small amounts. I'm not a big fan of making these massive smoothies when people are putting in a cup of yogurt and then, 2 handfuls of nuts. I think in small amounts, maybe it's definitely at nighttime you could make a yogurty smoothie with some tart cherries in, but it's a very good point. Frozen berries are just as good, and it's, and also sometimes, depending on the time of the year, tart cherries can be expensive. So if you can get them from your freezer section, that's a very good point. There are a few companies that make a tart cherry juice that you could try as well. You'll probably find it in your local health food shop.
What's a tart cherry compared to a normal cherry? I mean, obviously it's tart, but...
I mean, a tart cherry kind of gets around town, just passed around a bit.
I've been called a tart, but never been called a tart cherry.
Yeah, as opposed to a regular eating cherry that you just eat straight away. So a tart cherry sometimes goes into pies and you need to add a lot of sugar to it. Whereas a normal eating cherry from the tree is very, very sweet. All cherries are good, but the tart cherry has a little extra melatonin in it.
So what about things like myths? So do you remember, your mum used to say, don't eat cheese before bed. Was there a point to that?
Well, I think eating anything too close to lying down isn't very good because of your digestive system. So you don't eat just before you go to bed. And I think we used to be told, you're going to have really wild dreams. Well, that would be fine, of course. But we don't, if you eat cheese before bed, did your mum ever say that to you? Or it's going to make you dream all night? Possibly. But they say, it's thought that sort of yogurty, milky drinks, because milk has also contains tryptophan, may be beneficial. But again, for one person, it might not be great for everybody. So you have to, sometimes it's trial and error with these things.
And what about things like vitamins? I know you personally, because I have to say, I have slept with Jacky Brown many, many times in hotels around the world.
Sharing rooms when we're traveling.
No, but we have. When we've traveled together, we've shared a room. When we were house hunting here, we used to go. And, and we were sleeping with Jacky's like, you both get into bed and she's like, she's got the face mask on. She's got the earplugs in. She's got, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I absolutely believe in, and I think we definitely wrote it about it in the book, is getting where you're sleeping as comfortable as possible. Mm-hmm. Invest in some good pillows, beautiful sheets. And I know you and Tommy will have lots of great ideas about that. So, and making your room this peaceful sanctuary where you feel restful.
I think that should involve kicking out your partner.
Yeah.
Well,
Patrick and I don't sleep in the same room and never have.
And Hans and I've kicked him out for 30 years. And, he just, we go through the ritual of like, okay, will you sleep with me tonight? And then it's every night for all the time we've been together.
Yeah.
Even I think when we were dating, and there was a lot more action then, it was like, No. Jacky's blocking her ears. But yeah, I think, well, in design, Tommy, I mean, the number one thing now is people want separate bedrooms, don't they? And there's nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely not. You don't cut down on your cuddling time. You just maximize your sleeping time.
Right.
And when somebody's rustling around, moving, snoring, coughing, whatever they're doing in their sleep, it's disturbing your sleep. And so if you can be in another room and actually get over it, just get over the stigma of having separate bedrooms.
Just going back to Jacky dressed up like she's going to the moon. She also does something else when she goes to bed. She starts spraying magnesium on her feet. So we can take food that's got magnesium in, but what about these sprays?
For me, it really works. So the idea is that you spray a magnesium oil on the soles of your feet because it's thought that the pores in your soles of your feet are larger and the absorption into your body will be greater. However, athletes spray it on their muscles, for sports, and because magnesium is stored in the muscles in the body. But I do it, and also in my sleep spray, my magnesium sleep spray, there's chamomile and lavender, so it's got this beautiful aroma, which is definitely relaxing. And maybe if scientifically it doesn't work, it 100% works as a placebo effect even. And so I massage it into my feet, and that's very relaxing. And I always have some by my bedside. It's my sort of little go-to thing. But just going back to an eye mask, I just actually got a new one, which covers nearly my whole face. And it's made of this beautiful mulberry silk, but it doesn't allow any light in. And I had the best night's sleep with that. And it's navy blue. You can feel light through your skin. And in the UK, it's light at 4:30 in the summer. I'm not sure on the different time zones, it's different. But that starts to kind of stimulate your skin can feel that, and it starts to stimulate you and starts your waking up process. So having blackout blinds can be very helpful for some people. Some people can sleep anywhere, can sleep on a bench in the middle of,
that's me.
Park in the summer. Yeah.
In the book, which is called Life Lessons from a Tuscan Villa, when we covered sleep, one of the things we talked about is how most Italians have shutters, whether they're in a city or whether they're in the countryside, have shutters on the outside and the inside. So the shutters on the outside tend to be if you kind of go away, stops the sun coming in and damaging your furniture and stuff. But they will close. If you walk into any village at 2:00 in the afternoon when they're all taking their siesta, they're all shut.
All shut.
Yeah. And we've got them here. And isn't it true? Every single person who walks in for breakfast on the first day, some of them very jet lagged. We have people from Australia, Canada, South Africa, and you go, how did you sleep? And they go, oh my God, great mattress. We have beautiful mattress made from wool and shutters, because that completely blocks the light. Now, not California shutters.
No, not louvered shutters. These are solid shutters.
These are solid shutters, exactly. I know they're probably much harder to get. Or as Jacky said, blackout blinds.
You can get blackout blinds, which are really effective. I mean, I would have blackout blinds, my eye mask, and my ear thing. I'd have like everything, but I'm super sensitive, so I know that. But it takes me, ages to settle down. I have to have everything in the right place. I try never to have my phone next to my bed in case I try and look at it in the night. But there are always little things that sort of help you get back to sleep. I'm a big fan of some diaphragm breathing in the night. If you wake up with night nudges and you're so concentrating on counting your breaths, you forget what you were thinking about. So breathing, and it stimulates one of your cranial nerves, your vagus nerve, and that helps relax you.
Especially if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with the worries.
With monkey mind, yeah.
I love that they call it the vagus nerve, because that's, my vagus nerve is smoking and drinking until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Well, on that note.
Not about Vegas.
So Jacky, what about having, because I want to get into alcohol, because it's really weird because we've had many questions and about 50% are about alcohol. But let's just start with alcohol and sleeping. So we all love a nice drink, at night, whether it's social drink or a bottle of scotch.
I love the way you say that. We all love a nice drink at night.
So should you have a drink before, like 2 hours before bed? Or
I think if you can avoid it, it's a good idea, because especially if wine, sugar, and then some people get that sort of sugar rush a couple of hours later, and that can wake you up. So yeah, it's complicated with alcohol, isn't it? Okay, I think with alcohol, everything is Goldilocks. So too much, not good. If you can get the right amount, it may help with sleep, but not everybody, and everyone is different. Sometimes I've had a glass of wine and I've had the best night's sleep ever, and other times, if you have 3 glasses of wine, you're woken up all night. So
right.
Possibly,
so 2 is the right number.
Should we go for? We'll go for 2.
I think 2 sounds great.
Yeah, I think it's hard to promote it, and everyone's different. And if if you're getting disturbed night's sleep, and then people are asking advice, should I do it or shouldn't I? I think everybody deep down inside, if they're looking for permission to drink, I can't give them that. But you've just got to work out what's best for you.
I think you have to listen to your body and listen to your and observe your own patterns, because I find for me, if I drink too much, I have what I call a booze snooze, which is not a real sleep. It's just like a series of small naps that are disturbed by the consumption of alcohol. And I find, I sleep through the night without having to go to the bathroom if I don't drink. But if I do drink, I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and that disturbs my sleep.
Alcohol irritates your bladder. So we don't want that.
It also irritates the person sitting next to you if you've had too much of it.
I just have that vision of Tommy when he went to sleep, like spread-eagled on the lawn, fast asleep.
Not your lawn, Debbie. Not yet.
Oh, I've seen you. Is that Tommy down there at 4 a.m, surrounded by wild boar?
It's a chingali.
Now, the next question came by voice note, which is from Gloria V in Canada. She's very upset because apparently in Canada, they've changed the guidelines of how much alcohol you should drink. Listen to what she said.
Hi, Tommy, Debbie, and Jacky. My question is, recently in Canada, they changed the guidelines for alcohol consumption per week to 2 glasses per week as what the maximum should be. I'm just curious Jacky's take on that and what her thoughts are on alcohol and its effect on sleep and health. Thank you.
So there are new laws in Canada which hit the British and the American papers because they have reduced it down now to 2 drinks a week. Prepare yourself now. When I say 2 drinks, I don't know about in Canada, but in the UK, when you offered a glass of wine in a pub, there are 3 measures. No wimp ever takes the little measure, the 1 unit, because it's like half an inch is the Italian way of serving a drink. So 1 unit of, say, a small white wine is 1.5. A unit of, say, scotch or gin or vodka is 1, and a beer is 1.7. So when they're saying 2 glasses a week, it's basically wet your lips, to be honest. Now, I looked it up. So, like, what is the point? You've had my gin and tonics. So in the UK, they're still saying 14 units a week. So there's a huge difference, but everybody's starting to talk. So this lady has said, she's really fed up with this. What should she do? And when I read that, I honestly thought 2 glasses a week, I'd rather just not drink because, what's the point when I make a gin and tonic? It's got 10 units in it already in one drink. So Jacky, what do you think?
Oh, I'm sure the truth lies somewhere in the middle. 14 units is responsible drinking, and it's also the same for men in the UK. It's 14 units. I thought it was going to be more. Alcohol is detoxified by your liver, so your body thinks it's a kind of a poison. My favorite poison. But so for me, what I like to do is have 4 or 5 days not drinking, and then would like to drink. To have a lovely Italian meal, 2 glasses of red wine. What is more relaxing, beneficial. I think, and I know you were doing your research and I had a little look, and the World Health Organization is saying that there is no safe level for anybody. But really, there are people in the blue zones that have been drinking and even smoking for years and years, and they live to over 100 years old, healthily, doing, very well. I think it's probably when drinking becomes a problem. Or do we follow our own bodies and our own instincts and just drink little and often, but do we just drink twice a week and keep it for high days and holidays or socializing with friends? Or is it a problem when we just go for a glass of wine every night at 6 o'clock, come what may? And then maybe they're the times that you have to think, hang on a minute, do I need that glass of wine now? Is there something else I can have? How are you getting on with my water kefir, Debbie?
Actually, Jacky made me, because I actually, apart from going to Florida to see another friend of ours who it is impossible not to have a very large gin and tonic with her. But apart from that, from the beginning of February, I haven't drunk, and I am a very good drinker. So I'm not an alcoholic because I know I can give up. But what I do is it's this treating. The trigger for me is the treat at the end of the day. Like, oh my God, wouldn't it be nice?
It's a reward for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So wouldn't it be lovely? It's a reward. Exactly, Tommy. It's a lovely thing. And it is a lovely thing to sit, under the Tuscan sun and or wherever you are and meet a friend and have a drink. But many years ago, Jacky got us off sugar, and it literally took 21 days. I always had a teaspoon of sugar in tea. So what I found with this was on my mirror, and if anybody wants to try this, it's really worked. On my mirror in my bathroom, which is what you look in every day to clean your teeth and get up in the morning and go to bed at night, I've put the weeks up. And I've never done this before. I've done it in diaries. I'm now at 16 weeks. And I have to say, I can't bear the thought that I'll never do this again. I'll not go to a wedding, or I'll not go to a party or whatever celebration. But my skin has never been better. But the reason I stopped was I love to kind of, like Tommy said, a reward. You put Netflix on, you pour a glass, you have your supper. And it's like, well, I deserve this. But the reason I stopped was my knees really started to hurt last year very badly. And when you go and see a knee guy, a surgeon, they always say the same thing. Always like, well, when you're ready, operation, and I really, really do not have the time. I cannot, because I know with knees, it's a long mending, whatever they call it. Recovery. And I can't. I live on a farm and I've got a puppy and, I'm busy and steps everywhere. So I thought, well, look, why don't I try this? Because a friend had said, have you tried giving up booze? And I said, yeah, every Monday morning. And she said, no, really?
On a Monday.
Yeah. She said, really give it up for a while. And this was my drive. And you know what? The pain has gone away. It's because that's the inflammation, isn't it?
It's the inflammation. Yeah, for sure. So it's finding that sweet spot. And I think if it's causing you issues like that, then for sure you've got to do that experiment, for a month, give up drinking for a month And if it solves a lot of things, you probably then know what your problem is. But it's trying to find something to replace it with that's satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, because when Jacky bought the water kefir, it's bubbly and fizzy. It's a bit like a ginger beer. It's got that kind of sense to it. And it's quite healthy because it's a yeast, isn't it? So that becomes my treat. It's like, I guess if you smoke, and I'm not a smoker, but it's that picking up the cigarette, opening the packet, lighting the match, putting it in your mouth. That's the kind of the habit.
The habit.
It's ritual.
Yeah, it's going to the fridge, opening the bottle, pouring the wine, getting a friend on the phone.
Hearing the pop.
So I thought, well, okay, I'll treat myself. It's not quite the same thing, but so maybe to a ginger beer, which is, I know it's not particularly because it's sugar and it's like having a Coke or something, but I know I can only have one, whereas a glass of wine, I'm not very good with one.
Debbie needs a pee, so we're going to be back in a minute. Hold that thought.
I'm Sarah Burke, and I host the Women in Media podcast, where I'm exploring the challenges women face in the media spotlight and celebrating our triumphs. My guests come from radio, TV, news, and sports, and we'll cover topics like leadership, diversity, stereotypes, and more. Most of all, I'm looking to build a community through a space where we can discuss anything. The Women in Media podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or at womeninmedia.ca.
So, Jacky, do you think it has a lot to do with like listening to your own reactions to things and paying attention and being aware of your own reactions to things? Because my dad had a friend. My father never drank, never took alcohol, total teetotaler. And he had a friend, Ron, who quit drinking later in life, like well into his 50s. And my dad used to tell this story that he called Ron one day a few weeks after Ron had quit drinking. And he said, "Ron, how's the not drinking going?" And Ron's response was, "Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's the first solid shit I've had in 20 years.
But it's true.
And so Ron's body was reacting in one way. Debbie has knee problems. For me, it's sleep. Is it different for everyone?
I think everyone is different. Everyone's individual. We all have different DNA. We have different, and people live in different areas, circumstances, have different diets. Even though we live, Debbie and I spend a lot of time together. When I come back to the UK, I have a different diet from the one I have in Italy. And we're very lucky to have the most fantastic chefs and people that look after us in Italy. And we have wonderful food that's been really carefully sourced and cooked for and made with love, and it's incredible. And that's wonderful. And we all have a little glass of wine, don't we? We don't have very much, but Debbie did so well not drinking because you knew the effect it would have on your knees. So, and I think we have to be truthful with ourselves and say, look, if it's affecting a part of my life, especially my health, then it's kind of got to go.
Yeah.
And some people feel absolutely fine. Yeah. But some people, you've got to admit to yourself if it's affecting any part of your life.
You always talk about in your lectures is you really are your own warrior.
So now we have a voice note from Arlene in Anguilla, who knows how to send a voice note, which is when you go into your Instagram messages, hit that little microphone instead of typing into the box. And just as a reminder, you can DM us or voice note us through our Instagram profile, which is the Trust Me Pod. Here is Arlene's question.
Good morning. My question is for someone who is, let's say, a woman of a certain age, going through a certain change in life. Actually, I have gone through the change. Are there any things in particular I should be looking out for? Any foods that I know, like osteoporosis is an issue. I had a bone scan done. My bones are in great shape. But are there certain foods that women in our age range should have more of? Are there certain foods we should try to avoid? I can't wait to hear the podcast. I'm very excited.
What kind of food, what she should be looking at for the change in her life? I guess menopausal, all those kind of things.
Well, it's really a really varied diet. Sometimes when I talk, I say to people, write down a list of all the foods that you eat. And sometimes it's like, I don't know, like 20, 25 different foods. There are thousands of different foods that we can eat. And it's kind of a cool thing to do, to write lists of 10 different purple vegetables, 10 different green ones, orange ones, and kind of tick through to see that you're having such a variety. And the same with sources of protein. I know Tommy is a vegan, but you're very careful about the way you eat. So incorporate lots of protein and different plant proteins. But some people just stick to the same meat, same veg, day in, day out. They don't have variety throughout the day. I would also always say, kind of try not to start the day with anything sugary like croissant or breakfast cereal. But, there's nothing wrong with, who said you have to have cereal at breakfast? Kellogg's. So, the variety at breakfast, if you eat eggs, have a couple of eggs and some mushrooms and some spinach, just this variety. And it kind of sets you up for the day without having too many carbohydrates. So especially when you're getting older, having too much refined sugar isn't very advisable. That can cause inflammation. I really believe in eating 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and an early dinner, whatever kind of fits in with your lifestyle, and try to eat 3 hours before you go to bed. No snacking, but if you have to have a snack, an apple and some nuts or nut butter mid-afternoon, but, not a bar of chocolate or a muffin and that's kind of hard to adjust to, because we're kind of, you walk past in a store or at a checkout and it's so easy to grab a chocolate bar and just think, oh, I just have the one. And before you know it, that's becoming a habit, and it's just resisting those sugary treats on a regular basis. Not cutting them out forever, but having them at appropriate times, not just making it a habit that you need to do just a matter of course, I bolster my energy with a chocolate bar. Long term, that's not going to give you real energy. You need to be eating properly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Jacky, so when you get older, so let's say you're over 40, because a lot of the women who come here, you're teaching optimum health, without having to label everything. You can't.
Yeah. I hate saying you can't have something, because, that would just be sort of too depressing and boring. But variety, and there's so many delicious foods that are really healthy and really good for you. And, when people say, well, what should I be eating? It's just this variety, sweet potatoes, all sorts of different types of potatoes are available these days. I'm actually sitting in my greenhouse, because various reasons, but I'm growing like 4 or 5 different types of lettuces. I'm growing cucumbers. Not everyone has the luxury of being able to grow their own food, but it really does make you appreciate how food is grown and where it comes from, and being a little more aware of what you're putting inside your body. And we slap all kinds of things, or we spend a fortune on our face cream, don't we? So most girls, and maybe you, Tommy, and you have some nice face cream. Okay. So we need to the quality of our food is really important, and that's why there's a massive movement about avoiding ultra processed food or even processed food. Eating food as close to its natural origin as possible. So I love nothing more when I'm at yours, Debbie, going down to the auto and picking tomatoes and cucumbers and all the things you grow there. And for those that don't have a greenhouse, sprouting is a wonderful way to add more nutrition into your diet. So, and everyone can sprout on your windowsill.
You need a windowsill, don't you? You need a window.
Yeah, just a windowsill. Yeah. So when somebody says, what should I be eating? It's variety, not having processed foods. And I know people that think they have this great diet, and I see them with a can of Coca-Cola in their hand. I'm going, what? No, what? Why? You can have, soda water with a squeeze of lime in. You can have, there are so many alternatives. If you think, if you give it thought and you prepare you keep all the foods in your fridge and your larder, lentils, pulses, always have this like toolbox of foods that you can make a meal in 10 minutes. You can throw a curry together in 10 minutes, some quinoa cooked. There are so many things that you can do to avoid eating processed foods or fast food. Or
when you talk about cost, so the Tuscan diet, so we did this book so that people who couldn't come here, or people would come here and within a week were feeling fantastic. But they said, well, how do I bottle this? How do I bring this home? But you have to remember the Tuscan diet is a very it's a very simple diet, but it's a poor diet. It's a poor. These were poor people during the medieval times and on. So it's called cucina povera, which something like that. Anyway, so it's a poor man's diet, and basically. I mean, the other night we went to a dinner party and the wisteria you would have loved this, Jackie, the wisteria has just finished, right? It's over. We had, here they eat fried zucchini flowers. We had the same thing with the wisteria.
No.
It was
how amazing.
I mean, it was just maybe the fun of it. So also, what's the one that this looks like elderberry, is it?
Oh, yeah. Well, elderflower makes a beautiful fried pudding. Just dipped in,
Some of them were the size of a side plate. They were battered and everything. And then they did the same thing with the wisteria. So, I mean, what a fun thing to do. Costs absolutely nothing, to do it. So obviously make sure that any wild flowers or wild herbs or
make sure you exactly know what you're picking.
But this was a poor man's diet. So here they eat a lot of chechi, which is chickpeas, and they use chickpeas in chickpea soups, in everything, and beans. They're known. We have a chapter in the book calling them bean people, because beans was something that got them through the winter. They could be dried, and they could. Exactly. Well, you eat loads of beans, don't you, Tommy?
I do. I mean, it's one of the major ways that vegans get protein. But I think it's also worth revisiting Jacky's comment about awareness in the grocery store. For anybody who lives in any city, whether it's New York or Toronto or London or any urban center, or even in places that are food deserts, I think sometimes it's about breaking out of your habits. And I'll tell you a little story. I was in the organic food store the other day, and this woman was ahead of me in the queue to cash out. She was probably in her 80s, but she was really fit looking and really moved well. And I even thought to myself while I was standing in the queue, wow, she's really spry. And she turned to me, I was next after her, and she turned to me and she said, you know what? I've bought too many leeks. And she took this leek and she slammed it into my palm of my hand and said, take this and make something delicious with it. And I said,
I think she was trying to pick you up.
But here's the thing. I thought to myself, here's the thing. First thing I thought was, I don't buy leeks, and I should. And the second thing I thought was, if this bitch looks this good at this age and she's eating leeks, bring on the leeks.
Absolutely.
What I thought leeks, they're the easiest thing 12 months of the year to cook. They go in everything.
I mean, I just wasn't in the habit of purchasing them. And so, you know what I did? I went home and I looked up a recipe for leek and mushroom pie. And I made this incredibly delicious leek and mushroom pie that was super healthy, really healthy ingredients. And it was delicious. And now I make it all the time. And it was simply the suggestion of this other person who shops differently than I, that maybe a leek would be a good idea and not on my list normally. I loved it. I loved the experience.
I think it's that, especially when we're in Italy, for example, when we were all together, Debbie bought a vegetable, the name escapes me at the moment, but it kind of resembled grass.
Oh, yes. Remember the grass? It was so good when you made grass.
Yeah. And then we looked it up, and then they just saute it with some olive oil, some garlic, squeeze of lemon, pepper and salt. And then it's this delicious thing. I've never come across it before. Ever.
I'd never had it.
And it's sold in the market like clumps of hair, isn't it? They put an elastic around the bottom, and it's kind of slightly seaweedy. It's I don't know what it's called either. I'll try and remember, and we'll put it up on the website. But
it's called grass. I think it's just grass.
We called it grass.
But it's so delicious. And, it's what's strange here is when you go to a restaurant, they don't seem to have a lot of vegetables, but the vegetables are in the meat, are in the food. Whereas we eat a vegetable as a kind of, we have the plate of meat, the plate of vegetables, the plate of potatoes. It's within, just like when you have a curry or Thai food, the vegetables are the part of the composition of it. So we often get guests saying, can we get some vegetables? Well, you just had a mushroom pie as a starter, and then you had a souffle with asparagus, and then so it's how they cook them. And I think with vegetables, as you say, they are such an array of color and goodness and different
Flavor.
And herbs. Yeah, using lots of different herbs. Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's a way of experimenting. And the great thing now, there's, farmers in all countries are getting better. Now, the other thing is that here they eat in season. So, and that's a very strict thing to the extent where we kind of go crazy. It's quite hard to get mushrooms now until the fall. It's all asparagus season now, fava beans, the like broad bean, peas, and then it's going to be green beans, and then it's going to be shredded zucchini, which invades everything, and it's zucchini for a month. And it's like, if I eat another zucchini.
But there are so many things you can do with it, yeah.
I know.
And that's how our grandparents ate. So the Tuscan diet is very similar. The formula of it as kind of whichever country you're in, how they lived in the countryside. So they ate it. So stews in the winter, yeah, it can get a bit boring, but there's more goodness in those parsnips and things that have come locally from a local farm than, I guess, sitting on a truck from somewhere.
When you walk along through the gardens at Debbie and Hans's home at Villa Ragnella, it's really funny actually, because you'll say like, "Oh, this is a very attractive shrub," and Debbie will say, "Yeah, we eat that," and then you'll say, "Oh, this is a beautiful hedge. Yes, we eat that too."
Yeah.
All the plants in Debbie's landscaping are consumed by Debbie and Hans.
Yeah, we're like horses. We just eat everything. But when we first came here, we used to see people in the hedgerows and in the fields, bent over, bloomers and big skirts, and the women picking this and that. So, we thought, oh, poor things, they've got no money, they're foraging in but they're not. It's better quality. It's just sprung up that morning. Wild garlic. We had black garlic. Have you ever had black garlic, Jacky?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
I have too.
Oh, amazing. We had that the other night. So they're foraging, and that's what at this dinner, wisteria's over, rather than brushing them up, let's eat them. And so there are foraging clubs now all over the world in the middle of cities. I'm sure, Tommy, in the middle of downtown Toronto, you could go and walk along the 401.
Or the Don Valley.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But as long as you go with an expert, it's a wonderful Sunday. Yeah. You meet a friend and
safety first. Yeah. At any time of the year, there's nearly always something you can eat in even a normal garden. I follow quite a few foragers, and it's just fascinating. And we had an amazing dinner in Tuscany that was based on foraging. It was just fantastic.
It was like a gourmet meal, wasn't it? Just 7 courses. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so on that note, this came in by email, and I thought we should finish on this one.
Now we have a question from Alice in Australia. She says, "I absolutely love chocolate. Is it bad for me?"
I always think chocolate's like its own personal food group. I love chocolate. But of course, there's better chocolate that is better for you. I mean, my favorite is to eat a couple of squares of 80 or 90% chocolate, and it completely satiates your longing and lust for like the milky, sugary kind. So the sugar, the chocolate with a lot of sugar in clearly isn't the best. And sometimes a lot of people can't eat chocolate before they go to bed because it can keep them awake.
Okay, so for the last question, I think something that we all want to know about, this is from Alice in Australia, and she wrote in and said, "I love chocolate. Is it bad for me?" And in the book, Jacky, you say chocolate is a double-edged sword.
It is. So chocolate, I think another Goldilocks thing, too much is definitely bad for you. Yeah, everyone needs a little chocolate in their life. So I would say I always buy like 90% pure chocolate from a really sustainable, good source, fair trade chocolate. Buying the chocolate that's got loads of milk and sugar and cream and other things in is not ideal. And also have the chocolate at the end of the meal. If you really feel satiated, and it also won't spike your blood sugar because you've already had all your protein and your other food and your vegetables. So have those 2 little squares of chocolate. You won't want any more if it's 90%. And occasionally, you can splurge on some chocolate, but make it not a reward, just, because I hate saying food is a reward, but have it with friends. We used to buy some amazing chocolate in Italy, and they have it with red wine there, which is an unusual combination, but just a tiny bit, little like slithers of it.
Just a hit of it.
Just a hit, just treasure it.
Yeah.
You don't need to be eating a whole great big chocolate bar ever.
I was sort of
but these
forced
two little
into
squares,
it, like best practices regarding chocolate when I became vegan, because only dark chocolate that's like 70 to 90% is vegan because it doesn't contain the dairy elements.
Absolutely.
And so, and then I found, because the stronger the dark chocolate is, the more intense it is flavor-wise. You don't want as much. You just want 2 squares.
Exactly. You just want the 2 squares, and it's delicious. I've even had one that I absolutely love, and it's infused with chili.
Oh, I've had that.
And it really gives you, it gives you this wonderful flavor in your mouth, and it's just delicious. And you just want those 2 squares. So chocolate in moderation, and the best quality you can afford. I would.
Is there any goodness in chocolate, like apart from loving it?
They say, because chocolate's fermented, so you want to say, oh, it's fermented food. It's the really good chocolate.
So's wine.
Yeah, it's not like eating a bowl of kimchi or sauerkraut. So it's good. It's something I'm really I definitely have in my diet. I always have a little bar of chocolate hanging around to have after food if I'm in the mood. But it's not something I would sit and eat a bar of chocolate in the car, or I wouldn't eat cookies. So I'm just trying to cut sugar out of my life slowly, gradually. It's not an overnight process. Anything is not an overnight process. You can't suddenly go from having sugar and chocolate every day to like having none. So just gradually wind it down. It's like
just when you're in the mood.
Yeah, and when you're in the mood. It's like any of these habits that we're trying to change. Sometimes overnight, going cold turkey is not the best way, unless you're the kind of personality that you have to do it like that. But for us, with Debbie giving up sugar, I never thought I'd see that. She used to try and sneak honey into her tea, and I go, still sugar, and I can see you doing it.
Right, we'll all do it slowly and gradually and get there. Jacky, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I'm always in the mood for some Jacky Brown, and so Jacky, please, will you join us again?
Be delighted.
There's so much to discuss, and we would love to have you as a regular guest on this podcast, because we're so fond of you, and you have so much to offer in terms of information to our listeners.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words, as you both do as well. Great inspirations. So thank you so much.
I'm off to eat a burger now and a bottle of wine.
He's not.
Thanks, Jacky. See you soon.
All right.
Thank you, Jacky. Love you.
Bye. Bye.
I had such an incredible time this past retreat with Jacky and all the women. I really do. I have to say, Debbie, how much I really enjoy it, really love it.
Well, you're funny. You're very like my husband. He's not a hockey type of guy. He loves hanging out with women. He loves to sit and listen to our conversations. And I did say to you during the week, because it's a full on week, Tommy, you don't have to sit in every workshop. And Tommy was like, no, I love it. I love all these stories, and these women are so amazing. And they've all got, things happen to them, and it's wonderful, until Jacky said, okay, next workshop is about the pelvic floor. I have never in my life seen a man move quite so quickly. I think I'll skip this one and get a gin and tonic.
I had my pelvic floor tiled years ago. Or maybe the bottom fell out of my pelvic floor. Do I even have a pelvic floor? I don't know. And I didn't find out. I did actually go for that gin and tonic. Thank you very much for the gin and tonic.
You had it tiled. Oh my God, that's hilarious. When you're wearing that diaper in 10 years' time, you're going to say to yourself, I should have gone to that workshop. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. Thank you to Jacky Brown. And we will see you next time on Trust Me, I'm a Decorator.
Yes, and get all the information on Jacky and much more in the episode notes. And don't forget to visit us and send us your voice note questions for upcoming episodes of Trust Me, I'm a Decorator on our Instagram account @TheTrustMePod. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is distributed by the Women in Media Podcast Network. Find out more at womeninmedia.network.